Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it. Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it. Charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it.
iPod, iPhone, iPad. If it's got an i in front and an Apple on the back, it's hot property. But how has Apple managed to gain such a large and devoted following? And can it last in the face of the competition?
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. These are not three separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
Almost 5 years ago, at an Apple conference in San Francisco, then CEO Steve Jobs proclaimed that Apple would reinvent the phone. And they did. The iPhone has become a game changer in the field of consumer electronics and has gone on to take the tech world by storm. 3 years later, Steve Jobs announced the iPad. Despite being initially scoffed at by critics, the iPad has breathed new life into the previously dormant tablet PC market. Under Steve Jobs' leadership, the iPod, the iPhone and the iPad lifted Apple from relative obscurity to household name. This massive metal and glass installation behind me is one of Apple's flagship stores on George Street, Sydney. The Apple brand is so well known that the company's name doesn't even need to appear on the storefront, just the giant glowing logo. This is just part of the queue outside the George Street Apple store earlier this year for the launch of the iPad 2. Apple devotees queued for hours to get their hands on one of the coveted tablets. But why go to all the trouble? What makes Apple's gadgets so popular? To find out, I spoke to Stephen Fennick, editor of techguide.com.au. How has Apple managed to gain such a loyal, some might say, fanatical following?
Apple, they're the sort of company that's obviously very secretive. They're famous for their secrecy. They don't say anything. There's so many rumour sites that speculate on what Apple are doing, what their products look like, what their next move is, their software, everything like that. They keep everything to themselves, and I think that's for a very good reason. If there was one company that other tech companies wanted to copy, it'd be Apple. So for that reason, they're very secretive. But that's created this kind of this culture, this interest, this hype that builds up whenever they are coming up to a product announcement. There aren't many companies who make the evening news every time they release a product. Apple do that. Steve Jobs had that power. He had the ability to present these products with his keynotes in such a way that it would affect the stock market, that would make people want to camp outside their stores to be the first in line to get them.
Right now, the iBrand is riding high. But though Apple's consumer base is huge, it's by no means a monopoly, and the competition is already strong. It's called Android, and with 48% of the market share and over 100 million activations to date, it's the largest selling smartphone platform in the world. Android is championed by the Open Handset Alliance, which includes such companies as Google, Samsung, HTC, LG, and Sony Ericsson. All these companies are dedicated to the advancement and promotion of the Android operating system. Unlike Apple's iOS for iPhone and iPad, which can only be used on Apple-manufactured products, Android is open source and thus can be used on any handset or any tablet by any company that wants to. Gizmodo Australia's Alex Kidman explains how open architecture and an open attitude have helped Android in the smartphone market.
In the market, it's got the advantage that Google opened it up to multiple hardware partners. That's the big, clear, obvious one. As such, you've got HTC and Sony Ericsson and Motorola and countless others all pushing Android out there, all making that available as a smartphone choice. and making it available across a range of prices. You can promote, you know, a $200 smartphone and a $900 smartphone, and they're both Android, and they're both recognisable Android.
The mobile devices market is a battlefield. Though Android leads in smartphone sales, the iPad is still streets ahead in the tablet market. And with new developments all the time, the outcome is by no means decided. We're in the midst of a technological revolution, and nobody knows how it's going to end. There's only one thing for certain. The winner will be whichever smartphone plays it the smartest.
Technologic.